Hey, welcome to another episode of the JOANNA WHALEY podcast. We're doing something different this week. For Pride Month, we decided we're just going to do more episodes because we've just been having so much fun. Today, we are going to be having a whole conversation about should we be out or should we be celibate? These are questions we are asked by the religious community oftentimes to do. But before we do that, if you're somebody looking for support and you're LGBTQ or you're an ally, you can go to patreon.com/JOANNA WHALEY. And I would be happy to walk with you through some of the wildest times of your life if you're trying to navigate your spirituality and who you are and who you love. Welcome to Pride 2024. We are going to get started with our conversation about pride and religion after the music. Here we go. Can't get it out of my head. Can't get it out of my head. I will never be straight, but you say I'll be great if it's out of my head. Welcome, friends, to another episode of the podcast. I am so happy that you are all here, and today we are talking about being LGBTQ and being in the spiritual world, right? But what I want to talk about today is this idea that you have to be like celibate in order to, if you are gay or if you are trans or whatever, if you're in the LGBTQ spectrum, you're expected by many in religion to be celibate. And I want to talk about today, like, is that okay? I have my thoughts on it. I mean, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, I think it's a terrible idea. And here's why. If you're new to my content, to my show, I'm a 3-time conversion therapy survivor. I have been through conversion therapy. I have been coerced. And many times I was told that if I didn't submit to celibacy or get married as fast as possible, that I was going to be in danger in my life. And many queer people have this experience where they're told if they aren't celibate and they act out on their LGBTQ lifestyle, I'm using huge air quotes here, that they're going to go to hell. And so I want to have this conversation because Christian ideas over time have always taught that being LGBTQ should, that you should remain celibate or get married as fast as possible, right? And you shouldn't act on your desires. And so what I want to do is open up this conversation today. We got lots of people watching on live at TikTok, at JOANNA WHALEY Music. We also have people watching on Facebook, on YouTube. And so we're going to open up this conversation. And there's been people patiently waiting, but what I'm going to say, there's ground rules. If you're a jerk and you join my podcast and you're a jerk, I will bounce you fast and block you. But also, if you're somebody who listens to this podcast at other times, you can go to JOANNAWHALEY.com/live and you can text in or call in your questions and I'll read them here on the show. It looks like we have somebody here and all I can see is a SpongeBob emoji. How's it going, friend?
Hi.
Hi. How old are you?
I'm 12.
Okay, we only are talking to people that are 18 and over. Please read the sign. Awesome. Let's have conversations here about, if you are LGBTQ. It looks like we have someone else chiming in. Hey, friend, how's it going?
Hello.
Hi, how old are you?
Faggot nigger.
Okay, here's the thing. Don't be a dumbass and come on my podcast, okay? I don't know why it is, but for some reason, people just feel like when a queer person gets on TikTok Live, right? When queer people get on TikTok Live, people make it like their personal their personal vendetta to like be stupid and like try to make weird noises. We had people making like weird noises the other night. Don't do it. Nobody gives a crap. We don't want to hear you do that. And also be 18 and over if you're going to be a part of my show. It looks like we have another person here. Hello, friend. Are you willing to have a real conversation?
Yes, and
awesome.
I am an adult.
Awesome. Welcome. What are your thoughts on this?
I wanted to address what you said about like conversion therapy and stuff, about like people kind of preaching that you need to be celibate or that you need to get married as soon as possible.
Yeah. Which is a teaching in Christianity.
Yeah. I think that is not biblical. Personally, I'm a Bible believing Christian. I would say that is not a helpful answer to tell anybody, is to get married as soon as possible or to just to be celibate.
Exactly.
I would say, that would be like kind of contrary to the point. I think the point is that we should be pointing people to Christ as Christian, coming from a Christian background.
Sure. And you know what, also, I think it's something that needs to be pointed out in this. And I'm a transgender woman, and I experienced like, people telling me this, and I went the route of let's get married as fast as possible. But what happens there too is you create really unsafe environments for women in the church too. Because what's happening is that you're releasing people to like go find spouses and get married as fast as possible. And if you're in like something like conversion therapy, you're being told not to talk about your problems, that you're not going to give it life, right?
Yeah.
What do we say? Like if you give it words, you give the enemy a foothold in, right? So we were taught and trained not to talk about our conversion therapy and our struggles because we had victory over it. And it's a recipe for disaster. Well, thank you. It looks like we have some other folks here that want to chat. But it is encouraging sometimes to hear someone who says they're a Bible believer to say, hey, I think that's a bad idea. And I wish that I had heard that from someone back when I was going through it. As I said, if you want to chime in live on the podcast, you can go to TikTok.com or TikTok at JOANNA WHALEY Music. You can also, you can text in your questions. I would be so happy. Also on Facebook, you can text in your questions. I see we have Will on Facebook. We have people following along. So welcome in, my friend. What are your thoughts on this? Is it a good idea? It looks like we get people that come in and then they hang up on me. What are your thoughts? Is it a good idea to tell queer people to stay celibate or just get married as fast as possible? Tell me your thoughts, friend.
Holy fuck.
Okay, so I just don't get this. Why do people feel like, and I think it's good that everyone's hearing this. It's good that you're hearing this even for people that are on my recording. I don't know why people have to act like complete children, right? Don't act like this. Don't do it. And if you want to have a real conversation with me, a real conversation about being queer and being, a person of spirituality, but dealing with this idea of celibacy. We were told, just to bring you up to speed, if you're just joining us, we were told by so many people that if we wanted to be holy and pure, and I see one of my cousins in here on our live chat. Hello. If we want to be somebody who's like holy and pure and like enter the kingdom of heaven, we have to like be someone who doesn't get married and act on our queerness, right? I just don't I don't see the benefit in it. When I was going through conversion therapy for like the second third time. I just remember this insane need among in my own self to say, hey, if I get married, like, all of this will go away. And that was what was sold to us. That's what was sold to us. Like, if you get married, like, your transness will magically go away. As if, like, being LGBTQ is sin, which I do not believe in the first place. Okay? I do not. Let me say this very clearly. Being LGBTQ is not a sin. It's not a sin. But I do believe that coercing people to act against their nature, like, just go get married. Be straight, with big air quotes. Go be straight and it'll fix all your problems. That is wrong. That is forcing people to be someone they're not. If you want to talk about the scripture, right? Everybody loves to throw the scripture out there that says, hey, that the men gave up their natural way for other men, right? Well, what if your natural way is queer? What happens if your natural way is queer? Do you just have to, like, do what isn't natural to you? Or are you asking me to be straight because it makes you comfortable? That's reality. We have some text messages that came in this week. Jamar in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania asked, I came out to my wife as gay recently and she called me a freak. What should I say in response to this? I love this woman, but she keeps calling me a freak and a joke for being gay. I don't want to divorce my wife, but I also can't deny my feelings. I love my wife, but this is just so hard. This is a challenging one here. It's never okay for someone to be calling you names. It's never, ever okay. And that's where I would start. Start with that. And the rest of it comes through therapy, through conversations. This is not going to be a one moment fix. That's not what's going to happen. This is not going to get fixed overnight. And so I just want to encourage you, Jamar. I'm happy that you have found your true self and you understand yourself. But also know that it's okay to stand up for yourself. Like, it is okay to stand up for yourself. If you are watching this podcast recording live on TikTok at JOANNA WHALEY Music, you can join the conversation with me. I want to have this conversation. Do you think it's okay to tell LGBTQ people to be celibate or to get married in heterosexual marriages? I don't think so. And I think it's really dangerous to try and force queer people, as Christianity and faith systems have tried to do for generations, is force queer people into straight marriages because they think it will fix them. That's not how this works. And so as I said, if you're watching live, you can always watch the show live. You can go to joannawhaley.com/events for when I go live. So you can, if you're wondering, you can be a part of those conversations. But we're going to go to a quick commercial break. And then on the other side of the music, we're going to answer more questions. We're going to talk more about this. And if you're watching live, you can join in on the conversation as well. We'll be right back after this. Hey friends, it seems like everyone and their mom has a podcast these days, and everyone and their mom wants you to join their Patreon. So why on earth would you join my Patreon? Here's why. Our Patreon community is a little bit different because we are building a community of LGBTQ people and allies who need spiritual support. Let's be honest, many of my listeners may have a lot of distrust with clergy, and you need a place to talk safely with someone like me, a former pastor who is a trans woman. And we can really dive into some of the nitty-gritty of your experience. Go to patreon.com/Joanna Whaley and join a whole community of people right now. That's patreon.com/Joanna Whaley. We would love to see you there. All right, friends, welcome back. So before the break, we were just we had a text question from Jamar, just who's dealing with a spouse who's calling him names because he's identified that he's queer, that he's gay, and that's tough to deal with. I have another text message question that came in. This is from B in Keller, Texas. Says, "Hi, Joanna. I'm 15 years old. I'm a non-binary person. I want to get more info from people like you, but most content is limited to adults only. Also, being in Texas, there's a lot of people who say that kids cannot talk about these things, but I just want to learn more about how to live life the best I can." That's tough. It's true, because I'll be honest with you, B, a lot of the queer community, we're a little bit leery also at times of working with youth because we can be blamed by the evangelical or the conservative community for indoctrinating children. And that's never our goal. Like we're not here to do that. Nobody can turn you gay or trans or non-binary. Nobody can do that. Like, that's not possible. If you're watching, if somebody listens to this show and you're wondering is it possible for a gay person to indoctrinate you and turn you gay? No movies can turn you gay. Nothing. But what they can do is help you understand who you are. So these are my thoughts. What we're talking about today on the show is, is it a good idea for religion to promote, hey, don't act on your queerness, just be celibate? Is this a good idea? And I think it's worth asking the question, there's clergy in the world who takes vows of celibacy, right? The Catholic priests take a vow of celibacy. I'm going to submit to you that one of the problems that we see right now in the Catholic Church is the fact that you have queer people who took vows of celibacy, and you're having all kinds of issues because being celibate, if you're queer, is not a good idea. Hey, friend, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing good. I am a real life teacher, and I think it's an interesting conversation. So a couple things I will share, and I think you and I will agree on this. I don't believe I'm a teacher, I'm straight. I've had students who are gay. I've had students who are transgender. I refer to them as the pronouns they want, not because of any rules, but because that's how you have cooperation and respect. I don't have, and I've even said, I don't think people have to even agree on anything. You just want to have people feel like when they go to school that they are treated with respect and basically given a therapeutic milieu where they can go, they can learn, and they cannot feel in pain. In regards to adults, in regards to the celibacy of LGBTQ, I remember one of my friends who's Catholic, very conservative. In college, we would debate these issues. He thought that gay people, he was like, yes, they are gay. They're not choosing that they should be celibate. But you're not seeing people say that would do that to themselves. So it's not like, if you would say to them, okay, are you going to be able to, are you willing to go a life of no love, no anything? And I think it just, you're asking people not to live their best life in a situation where they don't hurt anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's also like, and now we have in the LGBTQ community, right? We have what are known as ACEs, asexuals. Like, yeah. And that is a legitimate thing. If that is like how you function, great. But what we're doing, especially within religious communities, is we're saying, hey, if you're queer, just like deny having love in your life till the day you die, and that's going to go well for you.
I'll share a story with you. You may have heard of the movie called Awakening, starring Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. Uh-huh. Robin Williams' character, he's a doctor, and this person that's basically had a mental condition and snaps out of it, I think due to a drug. The Robin Williams character, it came out, was basically celibate for life and was gay, and he was celibate for life due to shame, which is one of those sad, heartbreaking things.
Yeah, yeah.
So someone said, you guys are basically saying this for what you're doing. Well, let me just politely ask that person, do you believe that someone, an adult, I would ask those people, an adult who is with an adult, so we're only talking about adults, who is being harmed by that? I mean, that's how I look at it.
Exactly. Hey, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
And I have to ask that question too, is because there's like people like to say that the Bible says you can't be gay. Well, no, what the Bible talks about, and people love to throw out Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Like to throw that out there. What the Bible opposes is abusive relationships. So that's what needs to be clarified. Hi, friend. I saw that you wanted to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, what is your question?
What is a man?
Okay, so I understand where that's going. And the reason I hung up on is, first of all, is that this is a common, you're going to hear this, what is a man, what is a woman? This is a common conservative, especially a conservative Christian tactic that says like, trying to say, you can't even define a man, so how can you define God, right? It is a dumb argument. Okay, if you want, you know what a man is. You're asking that question to just try and throw like trans people and make trans people look dumb, and it's just not a good faith argument. Okay, so like a man, go ahead and look it up. A man is someone who identifies as a man. Okay, that is what a man is. We're going to invite Owen into the conversation. And yeah, I mean, we're looking for good faith arguments here. And just to talk about this respectfully. Owen, what are your thoughts, my friend?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I just want to say, Jesus, please save you. Jesus is with you.
Oh, thank you, Owen. I appreciate that. And the thing is, I have a question, and this is one of my biggest questions for evangelical Christians who love to pray for me right now. I want to know, what happens to your faith? What happens to your faith when I fully embrace yours? What happens if you say, Jesus, save me, Jesus, save me? What happens when I have been and I'm still trans? What do you do with that? I don't know if people's faith can actually live up to that, because it's built on such an idea that you have to be straight and cisgender. So I'm thank you, Owen, for your prayers. I'm really thankful for that. And I hope and pray that God brings you a sense of peace and understanding that trying to like pray the gay away from someone is never going to work. Okay? It's just true. It's just not going to work. Hi, friend. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I guess, like, what is a man again?
Okay, so again, I'm just going to delete all of the callers right now. And what I'm going to do is just monitor if I don't see you put something nice in the comments. This is kind of what your parents told you as a kid. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I want to know from people, I see people in our live chat right now who, yes, hi Reese, welcome. So happy you're here. And today we're talking about celibacy. Like, is it okay? One of the reasons that I'm not answering the question, people keep asking me, what is a man? What is a man? It's off topic. We're talking about, is it okay for Christians to tell queer people to be celibate? That is the question we're asking today. And my assumption is, and it's clear in many of my Christian, from many Christian brothers and sisters, clearly right now it's been brothers and sisters, is that people don't want to have real loving conversations. Is that people just want to, they just want to have bad faith arguments. And that's what a lot of the Christian world, that's what a lot of our world is working with right now.
Hello, can you hear me?
And yeah, we can hear you. How are you today? What are your thoughts on this topic?
So the topic is celibacy, right?
How old are you, by the way?
Me? 18.
Okay, I don't believe it. So here's the thing. We have to, and a lot of times in these conversations, we have to be really careful because these topics create a lot of emotion for people. They take a lot of emotion from people, because when you tell someone, hey, I'm queer and I don't buy your theology, that gets really, really difficult for people to deal with. And what I tend to find is that when you've pushed someone to the edge of their theological framework, when you've pushed someone to the edge of it, you start to get the insults, and you start to get the difficulty that people have a really hard time putting coherent arguments together and having real conversations. And so I want to invite you, as you continue to consider these conversations, and for those that listen to this show, just know that we are in a world that isn't kind to us as queer people. But being celibate is not safe. Being celibate and trying to force people to be what they aren't is just unsafe. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this podcast recording today. We'll see you tomorrow for another installment of the show. I hate it all that I could see. Can't get it out of my